The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball.
And hello and welcome into Views from the Sidelines. I'm your host, Joey Tysick, alongside me, Malik Hill, as always. And we have the best team in baseball right now. And it's exciting. What's not exciting, though, is that I can't watch the games unless I pay $20 a month to watch. But I'm not that committed yet. I wish I could watch the games, but I can't. But the Tigers are in first place in baseball, and they're one of the biggest surprises of the season. And obviously, it's going off of last year's thing. We kind of mentioned that a couple weeks ago when we talked about them getting off to a hot start, but it's continued, and they look good. They're producing on offense. Their pitching is outstanding, and they're just playing really well. What do you have about the Tigers? How do you feel about it? What does it do for you?
I think I said this before, but it's really wild just seeing how they were able to like click into this new version of themselves like halfway through last season. And they kept it running through the playoffs, and they've improved even more since. I saw a stat earlier. In the last 100 games going back to last season, they're 67-33.
Yeah.
That's the best record in baseball going back to last season over the past 100. So everything they've invested in, all the guys they've developed, like it's all working.
Yeah.
It's all working at the right time. Plus, Tarek Skubal is becoming like a generational pitcher, and Javi Baez found himself again. Like all of these things are happening at once.
Yeah.
And it's just like the best of luck.
Right.
And just good decision making from the Tigers.
Yeah, and Riley Green had a bit of a slow start, but he's been hitting the ball well as of late. Torkelson's finally hitting. Just he's continued to have his strong starts to the season. Not hitting super well for average, but he's hitting power for power, which is great. Because it gives them some much needed power that they haven't had in quite a while, actually. The one thing I wanted to bring up, though, because this has been a big contentious topic I've seen as of recently, and it's hard to fully compare, but would you rather take Tarek Skubal or prime Justin Verlander?
Because the Tigers never won a World Series. Like Justin Verlander was awesome in his prime. But it looks like Tarek Skubal is going to be like generational.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander was like a consistent all-star, high-level pitcher. It seems like Skubal is going to be on a like even higher level than that.
Mm-hmm.
He could possibly be. So it might be too early. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's too early.
Yeah.
Because one, again, I watched so much baseball back then, and the difference of the way the game is played nowadays, I would always choose Justin Verlander just because he used to pitch 100-plus pitches. He would pitch complete games, and we just don't see that nowadays in the MLB, so it's hard for me. I liked that era where a pitcher could just go and throw tons and tons of pitches. I know it doesn't line up with the analytics these days, but I just liked it. I felt like Verlander was really clutch back in the day. Even though we didn't win the World Series, I feel like he played pretty well in the World Series. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember the stats again. It's kind of nostalgia hitting, but right now I still think it's too early to say. The other thing I think too that gives Skubal maybe the edge is that he's a lefty, which obviously historically that has been harder for the majority of bats to hit. So I think that helps him a little bit, and plus, like that's what a lot of people know right now. So I saw the poll that I think it was Woodward Sports put up. and Skubal won the vote like 51 to 49 percent. So it's very close, and I think a lot of it has to do too with the present time. Seeing Skubal right now would make it hard, but I mean either way, both of them are, I think, generational talent. Verlander ending up getting his World Series, a few Cy Youngs, and Skubal already has a Cy Young under his belt at this age. Like, it'll be curious to see. The big question now is when he gets extended, if he gets extended, because it's not, it's not for certain. The Pirates are dealing with Paul Skeens right now. People thinking that they're not going to extend him because the Pirates are terrible, and him costing too much money. That like Tarek Skubal will be like the highest paid player in the MLB outside of Shohei Ohtani. So that's something you got to wrestle with. I don't know numbers with baseball too well these days, but I've heard people throwing out like $400 million out there, and I don't know how true that is.
I've seen even higher than that, which I'm not sure if that's even
It just sounds crazy when you think about it.
It really does.
We're so used to cap space in most of the sports that we talk about, that like $400 million, depending on how many years, just is a lot. But obviously, if you've shown that you're worth it in baseball, you can spend money and you can have good teams. The Yankees have been doing it forever. Doesn't always mean you're going to win the World Series, but you can at least have playoff contending teams year in and year out. So I'm curious to see what the Tigers would do with that. But so far, so good. Tigers are fun. I'm still hoping to get to a game at some point this year because I haven't been in years. So, I would like to get to a game. You have anything else you want to mention about the Tigers? We just kind of wanted to mention that, they're still on top of the MLB, and Malik's going to up his consumption as the season goes on.
I definitely will as the summer goes on. I will say I've seen several stupid posts and opinions that say the Tigers should maybe trade Tarek Skubal.
I did see
and
that.
I think that's insane. I think it's absolutely crazy.
I don't know what you would get for him. That's the big problem.
That's why I said, what could you possibly get in return that would make it worth it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, on the other hand, I did see one that would be fun. I don't know if this also would work either, but I saw, because the Tigers have Max Clark, who's like the number one prospect of his class, and then they have a couple others that they got in the Jack Flaherty trade, plus they have a couple others. They have one of the best farm systems right now. There was talk about the Tigers should trade for Paul Skeens so that they would have Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens. Sounds fun.
So just running back to when the Tigers had like four
just
high level all-star guys.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to do that because right now we're pretty built for the future, and if those prospects come along, then we can be good for a while actually. And I think in this case, I would rather be good for the long while than to go all in, just because it feels like the Tigers have kind of lucked into this roster for the most part. I mean, it's been a slow build, so that's the hard part. And I don't know if I'm ready to just go all in right away, as I would be for like basketball or football. I feel like you can go all in a little easier, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think you trade Tarek Skubal. I think you just have to pay the guy. It's one of those scenarios where like you want a face of your franchise, and I think that's what he would do for it. So yeah, that'd be exciting. The other big thing we wanted to talk about too that came out somewhat recently is the NFL schedule. So the Lions have, I think, 4 or 5 1:00 games. I don't know the last time that the Lions had a schedule like this, and this is only just like primetime games and late like game of the week on Fox type schedules is insane.
They have 5 1:00 games.
Yeah. So they're going to get all the airtime, which is wild for us. I'm not going to be able to take a midday nap during the 4:00 games. And it's going to be fun. Like they have a couple Monday night games. They got a Thursday. They got Thanksgiving. They got Christmas. It's wild. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But at the same time, it's like, it's not going to be that regularly scheduled schedule per se. So hopefully I'm not too busy during Lions games and things like that. But it's crazy how much prime time we're getting. And the biggest part of the whole schedule release is how tough the Lions schedule is this year. Do you want to go over that, Malik? Talk about it a little bit? Because they're starting off at Lambeau.
So they start at Lambeau. Then they got Chicago.
Should be no big deal.
Then the Ravens. Well,
Awful.
we have no idea what the Bears are.
No.
I think you're in the minority of saying the Bears might be no big deal right now.
Well,
Even though I don't know what kind of coach Ben Johnson will be, but a lot of people think they could be scary.
yeah, I'm just in the camp of like, okay, people thought that last year Caleb Williams was going to set the world on fire. He didn't. He showed his flaws.
Look, throwing for 3,000 yards with Matt Eberflus as your coach to me is successful.
Yeah,
But
I'm still in the camp too
yeah.
of like we haven't seen Ben Johnson be the head coach
that's my
of
point.
a team.
When nobody knows if he can be a good head coach.
So
That's my
he's got to
point.
juggle a lot more responsibilities than he has before. Not that he's not up to it. And I still just don't think Caleb Williams is going to just like, I don't look at Ben Johnson as a quarterback whisperer. Like Jared Goff is good within the offense because of the way that he plays football. It's not like Ben Johnson taught Jared Goff how to do all these things. I think it just fit into the way that offense runs. Caleb Williams, I don't know how he's going to mesh into the Ben Johnson offense. It's probably going to make him better because there's going to be more schemed up things. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that he's not going to make just as many mistakes or things like that. So I don't know. I just don't see the Bears being some crazy team this year. Like their defense is going to be good. You can't deny that. Their defense is great.
And the offense is very talented.
It's
They got a lot of
talented,
talent.
but they still got a lot of questions. Again,
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, what's he going to do in year 2? A lot of rookie quarterbacks struggle in year 2. He struggled in year 1. Maybe he turns it around year 2. But DJ Moore, another year, so that's helpful. But then you have Roma Dunze. Is he going to take a step up now that Keenan Allen's gone? Is Luther Burden going to be that new slot guy that they need? Is Colson Loveland the answer at their tight end position? It's just, yeah, on paper, I get it. It is talented, but is it going to work? I don't know. They're the Bears. Like it's hard to say, yes, it's just going to work because we've seen the Bears have
that's-
talented rosters.
No
before.
offense, but also offense to the Bears. You're
Right.
the Bears.
Yeah. It's sometimes that's how the Lions were for a long time.
Yeah.
So until you prove it, that's kind of just where I stand with the Bears. So yeah. Okay. Keep going. Sorry to tangent off the Bears.
So the first one that should be easy, Browns at home.
So we talked Ravens week 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
And
Browns
it's
week
at
4.
the Ravens.
Yes, in
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Then this won't be easy going to Cincinnati. To me,
No.
that sounds like a shootout,
Yeah, I mean 100%.
especially if they're healthy.
Yeah, 100% because
Yeah.
obviously the Lions defense is going to be better, but they're still not the best defense. Now, Cincinnati's defense by the start of the season, if they don't have Trey Hendrickson, it could be awful.
It could be a nightmare.
So I'm not as scared of that game just because right now I think the Lions could get a couple stops.
If you don't get pressure on Burrow, he's going to pick you apart.
Right. But I just think the Lions defense is in better shape right now than the Bengals. But yeah, the offense is terrifying.
Next up, at Kansas City.
Yep.
After that, at home against the Bucks. The Bucks beat them here last year.
Mm-hmm.
After that, at home against the Lions. Against the Vikings.
Yep. We'll see how
Well,
JJ
we'll have to
McCarthy
see
is.
the JJ, but their team is built to make a playoff run again.
Mm-hmm.
At Washington.
The revenge game.
At Washington. In Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
A small break potentially at home against the Giants.
Yep.
Yeah. And then at home against the Packers. Yeah, November 27th.
Thanksgiving has not been good to us lately,
Yeah.
but hopefully.
At home against the Cowboys. At the Rams. At home against the Steelers. At the Vikings. At the Bears to end the season.
So,
You have like 3 or 4
like
must
for sure.
wins. Yeah, for sure wins.
Yeah, you get the Giants and the Steelers. Should be certain wins.
And then you don't believe in the Bears, so I think you
No.
would put 2 wins there.
Well, the only caveat I would say is that Week 18, in Chicago is tough.
Yeah, that is.
Because it's going to be cold. So I would say that one, they could maybe split. Vikings are a big question mark. But again, we do get really lucky that we're playing the majority of our games indoors. And that's been the thing about the Lions. They don't play well outdoors. Jared Goff isn't good outdoors.
Although they beat the Packers in Green Bay last year, and Jared Goff played well.
Yeah, and I think they've snubbed that a little bit, but they haven't had as many chances. This year, again, mostly going to be indoor games. If they're outdoors, it should be warm. A couple of their outdoor games are early on in the season, like we said, against the Packers. Ravens is early in the season, so like nothing to worry about there either. So yeah, the must-win games got to be week 2 against Chicago, that week 4 game against the Browns, Giants, and Steelers. Cannot lose, in my opinion. And then I think you need to almost win all your home games. Do you have the splits of which games are home? And because the away schedule is brutal. It is one of the all-time, I think possibly the hardest road schedule ever.
It's one of them. Yeah. You want me to just list how many home games or
which games are home? And I'll just say if they like certain win or certain
week
lose.
2 Chicago at home.
Okay.
Week 4 Browns.
Yep, those should be 2 wins.
Week 7 Buccaneers. Week 8 Minnesota.
Okay. Bucks is going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm losing track. I wish they had these numbered.
Yeah.
Giants at home.
Right.
Packers at home.
Yeah.
They got 3 straight home games: Giants, Packers, and Cowboys.
Okay, Cowboys.
So yeah, 2-1 at least in that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last home game is Steelers at home.
Okay.
I
think
3 out of the last 4 away games.
Is that? I think that was like 7 or 8 games at home. They need to go like 7-1 at home. I think personally. That's my guess.
What are the chances they win more than 11 games to you?
I think
because with this schedule, 11 is a huge win.
I can't remember what their over/under was. They had the highest over/under, I think, just behind the Eagles. Might have even been higher than the Eagles. I can't remember. But it was something like 10.5 games. Obviously it's going to be tough, but I still think this team could win 11, 12 games. I don't think they're going to go, 15-3 like they did last year. But
having that type of record doesn't matter anymore.
No.
Just getting in is what matters at this point.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you just got to win the division. And this is where like my confusion runs into, because everybody, especially last year, is where it started of like, oh, the Lions' reign is already over. The Bears got Caleb Williams. Jordan Love has looked really good because he ended 2023 really strong. And then the Vikings getting J.J. McCarthy, like, how are they going to do? And then they got off to a hot start, and everybody's like, oh, Vikings are going to be really good. I don't know. I don't see, like, people say this division is a killer, and I think it's going to be good, but I don't know if it's going to be that good.
If it's not what people think it is, I'd like to see what division you think is the best in football.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's still going to be one of the better divisions in football. I think there's a lot of parity in a lot of the divisions right now, where there's a lot of like 2 teams at the top, 2 teams very well at the bottom. But I do think this is maybe one of the more even divisions, but like the Packers would be the most likely to contend with the Lions, I would think, unless J.J. McCarthy. Like J.J. McCarthy, I would say he could change the whole landscape of the division, because if he is Sam Darnold, possibly better than Sam Darnold.
To me, if he's just good in his first year,
yeah,
they're most likely a playoff team or a wild card team.
Right. So I don't know. I just don't know if they're to the Lions level. Like people keep talking up Jordan Love like he's some crazy quarterback. Am I just blind? I haven't seen it. Like
he's had some high highs and some lows.
I think like he's a very good quarterback. I'm not taking away from that, but I don't see him as this like crazy. I don't see him as the next Aaron Rodgers, like people were talking about for a
When
short
Jordan
time.
Love is off, it can get ugly at times.
Right.
But when he's on, he's almost unstoppable.
Yeah. So, and maybe that's, lack of
Kind of
a
more
number
Brett
one.
Favre-ish.
Maybe a lack
More,
of a number
more
one guy.
Brett Favre-ish.
Yeah, I feel that. But I don't know. And maybe I'm overconfident right now, but I just I don't fully see it yet. And maybe maybe that's just because it's off season, but I think the Lions, should be able to take the division rather, not easily, but sort of easily, I think.
Now that's a hot take.
You think so?
That's a spicy take.
Okay.
The Lions should easily take the NFC North.
I think so.
I want to see if you stick with that by the time the season gets here, because I think you're not in the majority with that.
I know
take.
I'm not, because
Yeah.
again, like I said, I've been hearing people talking about the NFC North and how it might be time for the Lions to lose it again. I'm like, okay, well, we just got here. Like, I don't know. Again, it's a lot to
Listen,
be
when
seen.
you go by the theory of windows not lasting very long,
Right.
and their missed opportunities the last 2 seasons,
Yeah.
you can see why people think,
Yeah.
like, the Lions could still be really good, but what are the odds of them making another run like that?
Right.
And Lions fans, of course, they're confident.
Yeah.
You know all the talent you have coming back and the pieces you've added.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just looking at both sides of it.
See, now
Yeah.
I am more worried about the deep run because of the
Yeah.
rest of the NFC is kind of grown up a little bit. That is a little more concerning to me than the division necessarily. But I don't know. I guess where I would panic too is like if we get through week 3 or 4 and Aiden just looks like he's slow, that he's not 100%. I know he's 100% cleared, but getting back up to game speed
Yeah.
and stuff, like if he's lost a little bit or something.
I don't expect him to be fully himself again until almost halfway through the season, to be
Right.
honest.
But I would start
Like,
to
at
be
best 3 to 4 weeks. That
Right.
would be like the best bet.
Yeah. But if anything, that would make me maybe a little concerned. I know we're going to be without Aleem McNeil for a while, so that could be troublesome as well. So we're kind of relying on some of the younger guys. But I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess. But I don't see it yet. So, yeah, I'll do some more analysis. I think the other teams have a lot to prove still and a lot to figure out with their offenses. I can see where if things go right, they'll be good. But other than that, I'm not sure. So that's where
Joey Tysick thinks the NFC North sucks.
yeah,
Clip it.
sure.
Clip it and run it.
So either way, I think the Lions need to go 6-2 at worst at home to
Yeah.
be good.
They have favorable matchups at
Yeah.
home. They do.
Because again, your away schedule is Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Philadelphia. Geez, that's wild.
Yeah.
Washington. So I don't know.
That's why I said 10-7 might be successful,
Yeah, I think it would be.
especially if they're doing good in the division.
I know a lot of Lions fans would probably be disappointed by that, but I think it'd be
By the time the season starts, expectations better be adjusted,
yeah. I think it would
because
it would be fine.
people that think they're gonna win 14 games, they haven't looked at the schedule. You're not paying attention if you think they're just gonna run it back like
Yeah.
they did. Yeah.
And I think that the opening game, week 1 against the Packers, if they win that game, that's a big
Yeah, that's huge.
relief off their shoulders, I think. Because you get 2 division games right out of the gate. You go on the road, you beat the Packers, you come back home against the Bears. You should feel confident going into that game. That's the Ben Johnson revenge game of that'll be fun. And then I think you could lose to the Ravens 2-1, beat the Browns 3-1. Bengals gonna be tough, but again, like I said, the defense thing, I think they're gonna be fine. They could be 4-1. Then you go to the Chiefs. It's tough to win in Arrowhead. They did it before. I would chalk that one more up as a loss. I think the Chiefs are getting their mojo back a little bit. I think Xavier Worthy, another year is going to be good for him. Maybe Rashee Rice is healthy by then, back up to speed. So 4-2 there. Then you get a home game against the Bucks. Going to be really tough. Think they can get it. 5-2. Home against the Vikings. 6-2. Commanders. I think the Commanders might be that team though that just gets us. So then if we're 6-3, go to the Eagles. Okay, we
It
drop.
also depends on health and all those things.
Right.
So yeah.
But we go to the Eagles, we drop another one, maybe 6-4. Maybe we win those games, but let's just go on the low side. We're 6-4. Then we get back home for that stretch where we play the Giants, 7-4 against the Packers. If we can beat the Packers on Thanksgiving, that'd be huge. 8-4. Cowboys, 9-4. Go to the Rams. If Devontae Adams is working for them, I could see the Lions losing that game. 10-5. Right? Am I at 10-5?
I think 10-4.
Well, I'm saying if they lose to the Rams.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's 10-5.
Yeah.
Home to the Steelers, 11-5. 12.
Actually, I think was it 9-4 when you left off from the Cowboys? I can't remember now.
Let me see. Let me just finish. What did I say? 10-5 losing to the
Yeah.
Rams. Win against the Steelers, 11-5. Vikings on the road, let's just take a loss. So 11-6. And Bears on the road, 11-7. So I'm right on the thing, but I would think we would beat the Bears at the end of the season.
11-6 is what it would be because of the 17 games.
Right. Yeah, bye week.
Mhm.
So yeah, again, I don't think that's like out of the realm of possibilities.
That's why 11 wins is a major success for the schedule.
And that's giving up a loss to the Vikings, Rams, Eagles, Commanders, Chiefs, and Ravens. So I don't think that's too bad. And obviously there could be a flip-flop here or there. Like they could lose to the Bengals or something like that, or lose to the Bucks on Monday night. That would be atrocious, but
also, one of those really good teams could have a down week, like you said. They could win one. Yeah.
We could beat Washington as well. The one team I don't think we're beating is the Ravens. They have our number.
Yeah.
Something about it I don't understand. And now that they have Derrick Henry, like I don't know. I don't like our chances at Baltimore as well. So I chalk that one as like almost an automatic L. So if we win that game, I'll be ecstatic. But yeah, I don't know. The schedule is interesting. A lot of primetime games. Going to be tough, but I think that's good because a lot of people said last year that we had kind of a cakewalk schedule. So if we have another good year, win the division, make the playoffs, who knows what's going to happen. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up about the schedule at all or Lions in general? Because this is the last thing before we get to like preseason stuff.
Yeah. What is I was just what day is that first preseason game? It is
We play in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, 7:31. That's so funny.
Against the Chargers. Yeah. Yep. End of July. July 31st.
That's not that far, to be honest.
No, it's
it
not.
really is
a couple months. And then they're right back into it.
Yeah. I just hope Lions fans like properly adjust their expectations, like I said. Because this is year 3. 2 really good regular seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Wasted opportunities in the playoffs. How long is the window open? Usually not very long in this league.
Yeah. So
I hope the fans are prepared for a few tough losses, some good wins, and it's going to be a transition because your coordinators are gone. You got new coordinators.
Yeah.
So you have to see, like, the first few weeks almost like might be feeling things out, even though it's 2 division games to start, which is why it's so tough.
Right.
So, yeah, the fans need to be prepared for some ups and downs in the season.
Yeah. I think that's why I think that those first 2 games are really important because they are division games to get off to a strong start. Because, again, I chalk the Baltimore game up to a loss. I don't know. What at this moment, what would be like a disappointment for you? Anything under 10 wins?
9-8 would be disappointing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of right there.
Anything under 10 would like it would have the fan base at 50-50 kind of if it was 10. But if you're like 6-2 in the division at 10-7, then you can't be mad like if they win the division with 10 games.
Right.
But you go 9-8, then it's like it's clearly going to be cracks in the like armor. Who knows if the coordinators are right? Maybe Dan Campbell is doing a little too much now. Then questions start being asked if you have a middle of the road record. Yeah. Even with that crazy schedule.
Right. Yeah, I do know a lot of people are concerned about the coordinators. I don't know. That's a wait and see kind of thing for me. I'm not going to panic about the coordinators just yet. Obviously, it hurt in the moment, but I'm going to give the team the benefit of the doubt that they've kind of figured out how this offense works. So to just make some little tweaks here or there, I think would be nice. And yeah, I'm excited for the season either way. So it's crazy that it's just a few months away already. But yeah, I'm excited. I think 11 wins is kind of my wheelhouse. I think I'd be slightly disappointed at 10, and then from there I'd just get more disappointed.
I will say this. I don't expect it to happen. But we have seen teams, even teams coming off of championships, teams have high highs in seasons, and then there's a drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. Like, I would be disappointed, but I wouldn't be fully surprised if with this schedule, with all the changes, with a few guys getting older, just so many changes and such a crazy schedule, if they went like 7-10, it would be disappointing, but I'd be like, after the past 2 years, it's a readjustment.
Yeah. No, I would be.
It would be a disappointment.
I would be.
But looking through the history of the league, how big of a surprise is it? Like, how many teams have gone on these unbelievable, like, the 49ers in the 80s, the Cowboys in the 90s, like dynasties?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that the offense is still such a pinnacle, and they're still quite young.
Yeah.
That I think that's where the disappointment would be, because I think the offense can still carry this team at times to get to that, like, to an 8-9 win season. So if they were at 7, I feel like something went horribly wrong. So I get the point. Like, yeah, I probably wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, there are some injuries or some there's like no meshing with the new systems of the offense and defense.
Yeah.
Like, it's a rough transition where some production falls.
Right.
So it's stuff like that.
Which that would be the shocking part, because we saw of Jahmyr Gibbs at the end of the season. We saw Sam Laporta kind of come back at the end of the season. Amon-Ra St. Brown is consistent. Jameson Williams, another year under his belt. He played really strong down the stretch. Jared played good overall. Struggled a little bit at times, but seemed to always bounce back. Offensive line should be healthy. Yeah, I think something would have to go almost wildly wrong. But, yeah, that would be disappointing. I don't want to think about that.
Also, Tigers just won again. Beat the Giants 4-3. I think it's a series sweep.
Officially. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Cool. And finally, we have the NBA playoffs kind of coming down to almost to the end here. We're getting close.
The finals nobody expected, and a lot of fans don't want.
Could be a for sure new champion.
Yeah.
Is what it's looking like.
With the Final Four, there was going to be a new champion.
Well, technically the Knicks won back in the 70s.
It's going to be a new champion.
I'm saying like the franchise has never won before.
See, I was just thinking of recent history.
Right. I mean, obviously, yes. In recent
the other franchises have never won a championship.
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty crazy. So right now the Thunder sit 3-1 over the Timberwolves. Western Conference Finals for me has been pretty disappointing. Every game except for this last game, Game 4, were blowouts. Which was annoying. And then on the Eastern Conference side, we have the Pacers up 3-1 on the Knicks. And that has been...
Each game has been pretty crazy.
Weird, but I guess, like, it grabs your attention because of how wild they've been.
Yeah.
It continues to be the trend in the Eastern Conference that teams are blowing 20-point leads consistently. And that's what basically the Pacers did in Game 3. It was Game 3. That Karl Anthony Towns basically carried the Knicks in the fourth quarter, scoring 20 points to give them that win. And, it's weird that no lead is safe right now, especially in the Eastern Conference. Do you think that's just like the way the game is played nowadays? Because we used to never see 20-point comebacks, and now that's like a pretty regular thing as of lately.
I think it's most likely an outlier.
Mm.
The fact that there has been like zero home court advantage has been kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like it's a bit of an outlier, this many 20-point comebacks, especially like the way that Boston-New York series started with 2 Knicks 20-point comebacks in back-to-back games.
Yeah.
it's hard to describe. It really is.
And it makes me feel better though about the Pistons a little bit. That
They gave the Knicks a real hard time.
you thought, oh, maybe they're just inexperienced or whatever, but well, it looks like all the other Eastern Conference teams are kind of doing it. So, I don't know. It's just weird. I know like the 3-point line has a lot to play into it at certain times, but it's just weird. Like I was listening to the radio the other day and they were talking about like back in the day, you would have somebody that was just like a run stopper that it's kind of like the Shaq, Karl Malone, like a guy that would just go get a bucket to stop a run and just be like, all right, we're done playing around. We're going to post it up, get an easy one, and go on from there. Whereas now it's like so many offenses are curated around the 3-point line that if you go cold, you go real cold. And instead of like going for trying to get easy buckets, you're trading 3-pointers for nothing on the other end because you're not hitting. Instead of like trading like 3 points for 2 points every time, and that lead, you're losing the lead, but not as drastically. Whereas now it's like you can just go on 0 for runs a lot. Like we've seen it. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it. I'm kind of with you. Like it's exciting for the viewer, but as like a hardcore basketball fan, can we just make an easy off? Like I hate to be, because I'm like a 3-point shooter at heart. So like for me to even say, hey, let's go get an easy one, that should be telling of something. Like something is going on here where we're shooting too many threes. If it's not falling, go try to get an easier shot. Like draw something up. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing. Again, it's exciting, I guess, for viewership, but I don't know. It's just odd. The other thing I was going to bring up too is like you mentioned you were the one that was on the Pacers from the get-go. Not necessarily that they would win the Eastern Conference, but you told me that they were going to beat the Bucks, and I fought back a little bit. Apparently, the average team across the board, because I don't think Tyrese Halliburton is like a superstar. He's very good. He's a star in the league. I love his game, but he's not that like superstar, take over every kind of game. He hits his spots really well. He does have big games, like he did in Game 4, but they're just a very solid team across the board. And they're beating the Knicks, who kind of went all in to try to make this title run. I don't know. Are you still on board of like?
I think I kind of have to brush back against you on the. How did you describe the Pacers again?
They're very good across the board.
Okay, I thought you were saying average.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of like what I am sort of saying in a way.
Here's the thing. This is how I felt through most of this.
But I think I'm just saying averages comparatively to like Karl Anthony Towns. They went out and got Mikal Bridges.
The talent difference.
Right.
Yeah. So throughout most of the season, I felt that way. I never understood when they would go on these runs where they didn't miss shots. Mm-hmm. But they keep doing it.
Yeah.
I've seen somebody compare them this way, and it makes sense in my head. Let me see what you think. They're the offensive version of the 04 Pistons.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think of them.
Because, yeah, you have a couple all-stars,
mm-hmm.
but nobody thought they would make this type of run. Like, elite, all-time great defense,
right?
Solid offense, and they make a run.
Yeah.
This team has, like, 5 guys that shoot, like, above 40% from 3.
Yeah.
5 or 6 guys that could all score 25 plus.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they get on a run, no team can keep up with them.
Right.
Their offense just flows. Mm-hmm. And they're led by Tyrese Halliburton, who last night had one of the best games in playoff history statistically.
Yeah.
32, 15, and 12 with 0 turnovers. Like,
mm-hmm. I saw somebody else put out a stat, and I don't know how true it is, but somebody put out a stat of like Tyrese Halliburton is like 3rd in the NFL where he threw like 77 passes for like 400 and some yards. They did like a comparison with no interceptions, that he would be like 3rd on the quarterback thing. I don't know. Funny. But yeah, like he's just played really good. He's controlled their offense. And then they just have guys that knock down shots. And at one point I wanted to compare them to like the 2005 Pacers because, the same franchise, but that Pacers team that was a part of like the Malice at the Palace and stuff that tried to compete with the Pistons, like they went out and got Steven Jackson and Reggie Miller. Yes, he was kind of fading in his career, but also like Jermaine O'Neal was like
He was
budding.
becoming like a high-level star at the
Right.
time.
He was budding. Ron Artest was that guy at that time. And so you can't really compare them to that because that Pacers team had already sort of established themselves, where I guess you could say this Pacers team established themselves last year, but it's still like kind of an underrated run that I don't think a ton of people expected them to make. And I didn't. I didn't think they would. Pascal Siakam has kind of come back into somewhat of a dominant guy for them as well.
He looks like the Pascal from that Toronto Finals run.
Right. Yeah. So it's just kind of clicking for them all at the right time. They got Miles Turner, the guy that was always in trade talks, and they just kept holding on to him.
Every time he has to hit a three, he hits it.
Yep.
He defends the rim.
Yeah. And we've said it before, like Andrew Nembhard has been one of the biggest, I think one of the biggest surprises for this team, that he's just turned into a great quality player for them. Ben Mathurin has been really good for them at times. And they just get it done, I guess.
There's one guy you haven't even brought up that hit 8 threes in game one.
Yeah.
You want to say his name?
I was going to let you say it, but okay. Aaron Nesmith.
Aaron Nesmith. I don't understand him.
Yeah.
Like, there are elite shooters all throughout the league that have ups and downs, and, like, I don't understand why him, like, in this moment, like, he won't miss.
Yeah.
And he can drive and dunk on you, and he defends. Even though, like, I went up against you on the average talent thing, he's the type of player I don't fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is he playing like a god?
Yeah.
And why all of these? It's still. I'm almost backtracking now.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense why all of these guys that in different scenarios probably wouldn't be doing this are all on this team and all seem unstoppable.
Right.
For some reason.
That's why I think it is comparable to like that 04 Pistons team, where like guys would step up at times and they just played well together. The other one I was going to bring up is Obi Toppin. He had some big shots last night.
He hit the closeout three to basically win the game last night.
We've seen him for years, and we're like, oh man, this kind of turned into a bust. And he's definitely not like to what his potential was from college. But
listen, I knew people that thought he was going to be like Amari Stoudemire 2.0 when he got drafted, because he has that type of athletic. He has even freakier athleticism.
Yeah,
but it didn't come together in New York. And as a role player in Indiana, hitting big shots every time they need him to.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Maybe it's just the NBA. I don't know.
Yeah.
Every now and then there are teams like this where everything just happens for them.
Toronto in 2019. Right, I mean, they went out and got Kawhi, but like the rest of the team played well around him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Sometimes just you get going at the right time. The Western Conference has been, like I said, a little bit more weird for me. I thought the Timberwolves were playing so well coming into the series that they would have fought back a little bit better, but they just haven't.
Listen, besides Game 3, where Ant Edwards had a great game, I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
And that last game was even worse because of his words in the post game, where he said, "I felt like I played well and made the right decisions." He just thought he played a good game. Like,
yeah, it's
just tough.
Right.
Disappointing.
Yeah. I'd rather just see somebody say like, yeah, we didn't have our best game tonight, and or take accountability, I guess, in a way. I know you kind of want to like shrug it off mentally of like, yeah, I felt like I did pretty good, but things didn't go right, whatever. But sometimes it's better to just be, for me, personally, I kind of fall in the category of like, I'd rather just tell myself that I sucked that night and then come back with some fire under me. But that's
what comes with Anthony Edwards. He's always honest, for good or bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes it bites him. Sometimes it's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It got him into trouble when he was first drafted, when he talked about not loving the game so much or whatever, but he was good at it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things. I like it. I like the honesty. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. They're not. They're like the opposite of the Pacers, where they're like not getting any production from anybody else. Julius Randle's actually had an okay series.
Well, this last game, they actually started getting production. Like, Nickeil Alexander-Walker was on fire.
Yeah.
DiVincenzo finally had a really good game, and it still didn't matter.
Right.
Because Shea and Jalen Williams just took over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think they can get back into this series. I think it just seems like the Thunder are destined to get it, which is wild. Like, to see what the Thunder have done. I don't know if you saw this. There was a thing of like when Sam Presti took over Seattle in 2007, I believe.
Yeah.
And he traded away Rashard Lewis. And that's like what started this whole long process. And then obviously the big one was trading Paul George. And in the Paul George trade is when they got SGA and they got a bunch of picks. One of the picks being Jalen
One of the
Williams.
biggest robberies in league history.
Yeah.
After looking down the road.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And to think that they still have tons of draft capital. They're a young team, and they keep hitting on these draft picks.
It's insane.
It's kind of scary. It's cool.
Sam Presti has too much power.
It's cool.
But it's because he does a great job.
Yeah. To see that a team is built like this, it's kind of fun. And I think that's why, for basketball purists, you should enjoy these finals if it turns out to be the Thunder and Pacers, because these are two basically homegrown teams. Yes, SGA was traded to the Thunder. Yes, Halliburton was traded to the Pacers, but they were still young.
Yeah.
So they're developing with these teams, and I think it's cool. I know the viewership is going to be atrocious.
I've seen so many people say they're not going to watch it.
Yeah.
And it's like basically it's based out of hate, really.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say there's going to be bad basketball played.
Right.
There's most likely going to be like high level basketball played every game.
Yeah.
So the people that don't want to see it, it's just because they literally just don't want to see OKC and Shea, and they don't want to see Indiana. Like, it's just straight up hating.
But imagine if it was the Thunder and the Knicks, and you got to go SGA and Jalen Brunson. Then how would fans feel? Really bad. So if it's just one of them, it can't be that bad. I do agree. Like, the foul baiting stuff has gotten out of control. But at the same time, like,
they're still both elite players,
right,
even without foul baiting.
They're crafty guys.
Yeah.
It's just annoying at times. But if you watch, like, the rest of their game, they're very good at what they do. So, I don't know. I'm excited either way. I haven't watched a ton of the conference finals. I've been pretty busy. But I've kept up with a lot of the stuff. And I try to tune in if a game gets close. And I have a minute to spare, then I'll turn it on. But when it gets to the finals, I really want to try to hone in and watch some in-depth games, some full games if possible, because I do like both of these teams kind of being built from the bottom up. And obviously the Thunder can do this for a while, which is, again, it's scary. Pacers probably too. Like, I don't know what they would really have to worry about. I don't know where Pascal Siakam's contract is. I don't remember how big the deal was. Miles Turner, I think, is going to be tough just because of the cap hits at some point. But they could also keep their team relatively intact for a while. So, I don't know. How do you feel about the whole playoffs, or what this, if it is the Thunder and Pacers final?
Like I said, if it's OKC Indiana, I'm gonna watch, because good basketball matters to me more than anything.
Do you think either the Knicks or the Timberwolves have a chance to have some crazy comeback?
At this point, I'd say no.
Okay.
Minnesota especially, like, I haven't even mentioned Julius Randle. Yeah. I was happy for him with this playoff run, and then he becomes Julius Randle again. It's tough.
Yeah, and I feel like Rudy Gobert has really become Rudy Gobert again as well.
And even though it seems like New York plays well when their backs are against the wall, but it seems like they don't have any answers at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they've gone to DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet, which to me they should have been playing them sooner.
Yeah.
But Tibbs, I think this is Tibbs' last stretch as the Knicks coach.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like most likely you fire Tibbs and hire Mike Malone.
Yeah.
I'm going far into the future, but it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to try to make another championship run.
Right.
But yeah, they're out of answers, and I think Tibbs just doesn't have much left in his bag of tricks.
And talking about, like, we were kind of talking about the Lions window. Like, the Knicks window is very close to closing already. I know they made a lot of big moves, but
the guys you've invested in aren't like dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like Karl Anthony Towns has elite talent.
Mm-hmm.
Mikal Bridges is a very good like 3-and-D and sometimes like third option scorer guy.
Yeah.
But you're dependent on those guys to make. I mean,
Right.
Mikal was on a championship team.
Yeah.
But he also had like guys ahead of him. Like Chris Paul was a leader and still like near the end of his prime. Devin Booker was like a 30-point scorer.
Right.
When Jalen Brunson is like the go-to scorer, he's not a big guard.
Mm-hmm.
Having a big guard lead your team usually doesn't lead to championships.
Yeah.
And I enjoy Jalen Brunson when he's not foul baiting. But,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know what more you expect from Cat.
Yeah.
And Mikal Bridges. Like,
Yeah,
they're kind of stuck with what they have.
right. And if they have to do some turnover with that team, coaching or players or otherwise, we kind of talked about it before, but like the Eastern Conference could really flip on its
Oh,
head.
yeah. It's opening now. The Boston situation is going to get strange.
Boston's going to have to blow it up.
Yeah,
The Bucks are going to blow it up.
yeah.
The Knicks, they might be able to
The
keep
Knicks need a
things
stronger
together,
bench. Like that's their big. They need a better bench,
Right,
Because
which
they
is-
didn't have many options.
which is what we've seen is the trouble when you go all in, you lose that depth possibility.
Yeah, but Miami's fallen off some.
Mm-hmm.
The Cavs. Can you ever trust the Cavs? They're young and very
I
talented.
mean, after this year,
but-
it's hard to.
yeah,
But yeah, like the Cavs and the Pacers will probably be up there again. But that leaves it open for I think again, like we said it before,
Yeah.
like the Pistons and Magic are kind of that next.
they're
Next
next
team up.
Yeah,
Can Atlanta ever make a bounce back?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But it's just a
They
question
just need
mark.
to trade. Like get
Yeah.
this deal done already because what you building around him, you're not gonna make another run. Like
Yeah.
the Eastern Conference run you had in 2021 was magical and it was great.
Mhm.
But it's not much left at this point. Even though you have Dyson Daniels and the small forward, something Johnson,
Oh, Jalen Johnson.
Jalen, yeah, you have those guys coming back. It seems like you have the foundation to keep building,
Yeah.
which I'm sure they'll try. But every move Atlanta makes, it just seems strange.
They feel like a doomed,
every single time.
They feel like a doomed franchise.
Yes,
Ever since
unfortunately.
Ever since the old Al Horford, Josh Smith, Kyle Korver team, like
Yeah, they had the 60-win team that was a fraud.
yeah, they
Yeah.
just I don't know, like, and they have had a couple good games or a couple good seasons with Trae Young, and they just can't figure it out. So they just might be a doomed franchise, you know. They might be added to that pool with the Kings and
It's looking tough.
probably the Pelicans are in the doomed franchise pool.
Listen, we're not even going to get to them. And we didn't even get to the Bulls yet, which it looks like they might be building something, but they're still the Bulls. So, yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of doomed franchises
Yeah.
potentially. The honestly, I hate to say it, the Magic could be in that doomed franchise as well if
I can't
this-
say that yet because when you have two players like Paolo and Franz,
But that's what I'm saying. If this regime
now,
doesn't get it
now
done,
they have to build around them.
Yeah.
They have to do it, which there's a big trade I think they could make,
yeah,
which could help them. But yeah,
because they had that chance with Dwight Howard and you know they were in the finals but
Yeah.
got smoked, and then
they were down for a long time.
yeah, and then they had like some decent drafts. Like I thought Jonathan Isaac was going to be really good at one point. He had so many injuries.
I never bought in.
Never.
I never bought in.
Yeah. And now like they're kind of back, but their drafts have been pretty hit and miss. So I don't know, but yeah, that would be a good topic one day. Doomed franchises.
Listen, we could go on. I like talking about the funnier franchises and like
Yeah.
the teams the franchises that can't help but be
Right.
ridiculous, like the
And
Kings.
I don't think we're like
They had Tyrese Halliburton
yeah.
and De'Aaron Fox,
Mhm.
and they could have drafted Luka Doncic. We could go on for hours.
Yeah. But and I think like the good thing for us is like almost all of our franchises have been there. So it's not like we're making fun of other
Yeah.
teams. Like,
We're so lucky right now. We're in like the startup of the new golden era that
Yeah.
it seems.
we're Lions fans, so we've been there. Tigers fans have been there.
Yeah.
Pistons fans, we've been there. So yeah, I don't know, but that's a fun topic. I'll have to write that down or something.
Could be a summer topic.
Could be.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna get into
Like
those
top
pretty
10 like either failed franchise, just overall like messed up franchises show would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't even know if we'd have to do a top 10. We could just ramble.
Yeah,
on that
just
episode.
pick a few we want to go in depth on
Right.
and just have a good laugh for an hour.
Yeah. All right. I think that's about it unless you have anything else. This is episode 299. So our next
Yeah.
episode, I don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah, we're gonna take a bit of a break. It seems
We have to get a hold of Chris to
Yeah.
figure out his busy schedule.
we're doing the state of the Pistons. We're doing it.
Even if I have to, we have a remote podcast studio thing, and even if I have to take that, set it up at my house, and do it on a weekend or something, we'll do it. Because for episode 300, we want to have Chris back on, and we're going to talk about nothing but the Pistons. I mean, we might do some
Yeah,
offshoot
we'll probably end up
topics.
recapping the finals at that point, depending on how long it goes.
True, yeah.
But yeah, we're at least for the first like 10 minutes, we're opening up and letting Chris cook.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the opening segment
Right.
because he has so many thoughts
Yeah.
that we haven't even gotten to.
We want to, because the way the podcast was kind of founded on Chris and I's love for the Pistons and basketball and other sports, of course. But we want to get a state of the Pistons of like where he thinks the team's at, where they think we're going. And him and I are probably going to get back into the old heated arguments.
I can't
of
wait.
like
The takes.
what I
Yes.
think we need to do and what he thinks we need to do. I suspect they're going to be vastly different, if somewhat similar. But yeah, so we got to get his schedule down and we'll figure it out, and then we'll do episode 300. That might even be like a 90-minute episode. We might not put like a time cap necessarily on it. That we'll just ramble for fun. Yeah, but we don't know when that's going to be. So whenever we see you next, we'll see you. This has been Views from the Sidelines, and see you next time.